Somewhere behind a locked steel door, in a building most employees are never allowed to enter, sits a vault. Not a bank vault, a recipe vault. Inside it is a single sheet of paper. It has been moved exactly once in over a century, from a bank in Atlanta to a purpose-built vault at World of Coca-Cola in 2011, under armed guard, in front of television cameras, and then sealed away again. Every single day, more than 2 billion servings of a drink built from that secret leave factories on 6 continents? 2 billion. That's more than 1 for every 4 human beings on Earth every single day. But here's the question almost nobody asks. How does a secret formula guarded like a state secret turn into a can sitting in your fridge cold and fizzing 20 minutes from now? A $1 handshake deal that built a global empire? Water that gets torn apart at the molecular level? A manufacturing process so precise that a fraction of a second timing error can shut down an entire production line? This is the real story of how Coca-Cola is made, from a locked vault to a factory floor to your hand. Part 1. The formula that can't be copied. It starts, as most origin stories do, with one man and a pot. In 1886, a pharmacist named John Pemberton was mixing flavored syrups. He wasn't trying to invent a global icon. He was trying to invent a medicine. Coca-Cola was first sold at soda fountains as a tonic, a drink people believed was good for the nerves and good for digestion. Pemberton had no idea what he'd actually created. 2 years later, businessman Asa Candler bought the rights to the drink and did something. Pemberton never managed. He turned a local curiosity into a business empire, pushing Coca-Cola into soda fountains across the American South. But the drink still had a problem. It only existed in one place, wherever a soda fountain happened to be. Then, in 1894, in the back of his Mississippi soda shop, he installed bottling machinery and became the first person on Earth to put Coca-Cola in a bottle. Suddenly, the drink didn't need a fountain. It could travel. That single decision, sealing a fizzing liquid inside glass, is the moment the entire modern manufacturing story begins. Every automated filling line, every carbonation tank, every inspection system you're about to see traces its ancestry back to one man deciding a soda fountain drink didn't have to stay trapped behind a counter. 5 years later, in 1899, 3 businessmen in Chattanooga, Tennessee walked away with something almost unbelievable: the exclusive rights to bottle and sell Coca-Cola across most of the United States. The price? $1. That single dollar deal became the blueprint for the largest beverage distribution network on the planet. But none of that explains the vault. Here's the part almost nobody outside the company fully understands. The flavor formula, internally known as Merchandise 7X, is not made at your local bottling plant. It's not made anywhere near it. It's produced in a tiny number of high-security concentrate plants around the world by a small team of people, none of whom knows the entire recipe. The finished concentrate is then shipped, sealed, tracked, and unlabeled in any way that reveals its contents to more than 900 bottling partners across the globe. Those 900 bottling plants make your Coca-Cola, but not one of them holds the actual formula. Think about that for a second. A multi-billion-dollar global product made in factories on every continent. And the people running those factories are handed a locked box of flavor and told, mix, don't ask. There are unverified stories, passed around for decades, claiming that even the handful of people who know the formula are never allowed to travel together on the same flight, a precaution. The legend goes, against losing the secret in a single accident, the company itself has never confirmed the specifics of that story, and it may well be more marketing folklore than fact. But the fact that a rumor like that even exists, and that people believe it, tells you everything about how seriously the secrecy is taken, and how effectively the company has built mystery into the brand itself. So what exactly are they mixing it with? Part 2. The invisible ingredient nobody thinks about. Ask someone what's in Coca-Cola, and they'll say sugar, caffeine, maybe caramel color. Almost nobody says water. Yet water makes up close to 90% of every single can. That means the most important ingredient in Coca-Cola, the one that determines almost everything about how it tastes, isn't the secret syrup at all. It's something that falls out of the sky for free. But factory water and drinkable tap water are not the same thing. Not even close. Before a single drop touches the syrup, It goes through a purification gauntlet designed to strip away anything that could alter the taste: minerals, chlorine, trace metals, anything organic. Filtration systems tear the water down to a near-blank slate. Then, in a strange twist, the plant adds specific minerals back in exact, controlled amounts to hit an exact taste profile. In other words, the factory doesn't just clean the water, it rebuilds it from scratch, atom by atom, to match a target that never changes, no matter which country you're standing in. That's the secret most people never hear. A Coca-Cola made in Manila and a Coca-Cola made in Manchester start with water that has been engineered to taste almost identical. Even though the water sources on either side of the planet are nothing alike, think about the logistics of that for a moment. A river in one country and a reservoir in another have completely different mineral content, completely different hardness levels, completely different trace chemistry. And yet, by the time both sources leave a Coca-Cola treatment system, they're supposed to land on the exact same target profile. That's not a recipe anymore. That's an engineering standard, applied identically across thousands of miles and dozens of cultures. Every plant runs its own on-site laboratory just to police this one variable. Water samples are pulled and tested constantly, not once a day, not once a shift, but continuously, because water chemistry shifts with the seasons, with rainfall, with the water table itself. A plant that passed its water test in the morning can't assume it will still pass by afternoon. Once that water is ready, it heads toward the room where the real transformation begins. Part 3. The room where the syrup is born inside the mixing room. Giant stainless steel tanks stand like silos in a science fiction film. This is where the concentrate that locked box flavor base meets sweetener and purified water for the first time. The process is almost surgical. Sugar is dissolved into the treated water first, creating what's called simple syrup. That syrup is filtered again, removing any last trace of impurity. Then, in carefully measured amounts, the secret concentrate is blended in. Every ingredient here is weighed by automated, high-precision systems, not because it looks impressive, but because the tolerance for error is almost zero. A tiny shift in ratio, and the drink doesn't taste like Coca-Cola anymore. It tastes like something almost right, which in the beverage world is the same as tastes wrong. Preservatives are added in trace, tightly regulated amounts to keep the syrup stable while it waits to be shipped or stored. Nothing dramatic, just food science doing its quiet, invisible job. Workers overseeing this stage aren't watching for flavor. Can't taste test their way to consistency. Human palates are too unreliable, to easily fooled by fatigue or temperature or the 50 other cans they've sampled that week. Instead, they trust instruments. Refractometers measure exact sugar concentration. Density meters confirm the syrup has hit precisely the right weight per volume. If a reading is off by even a fraction of a percent, the batch doesn't move forward. It gets held, retested, and in some cases, discarded entirely. There's also a quieter difference happening in the background that most drinkers never think about. The sweetener itself isn't always the same. In the United States, the syrup is typically built around high fructose corn syrup. In many other countries, it's cane sugar. Diet and zero sugar versions swap that entire ingredient out for artificial or natural sweeteners, which means an entirely separate mixing protocol on a separate line, with separate cleaning procedures because even a trace of sugar syrup contaminating a zero batch is considered a failure. At this stage, the liquid in the tank is Coca-Cola in everything but one crucial ingredient. It's flat. There's no fizz. There's no bite. None of the sensation that makes the drink instantly recognizable the moment it hits your tongue. That's about to change, and the way it changes is more physics experiment than kitchen recipe. Part 4. The cold science of the fizz. Here's something that surprises most people. Carbon dioxide doesn't like to dissolve into warm liquid. It fights it. Try to carbonate a warm drink, and the gas escapes almost as fast as you can force it in. So factories cheat physics by using cold. The finished filtered syrupan water blend is pushed through a network of chilled pipes into a device with a name that sounds like something out of a spy movie, the Carbo Cooler. Inside, the liquid is brought down to roughly 4 degrees Celsius, just above freezing. At that temperature, the liquid becomes far more willing to hold on to gas. Carbon dioxide is then injected under pressure, forcing bubble after invisible bubble into the mixture until it reaches the exact carbonation level the recipe demands. Too little pressure, and the drink goes flat before it even leaves the factory. Too much, and cans risk swelling, leaking, or bursting under pressure during shipping, a problem that can shut down an entire product batch. This is the tightrope every bottling plant walks, thousands of times a day, without most drinkers ever knowing it's happening. There's a reason fountain soda from a restaurant dispenser can taste noticeably different from a can bought at a store, and it comes down to exactly this stage. Fountain machines carbonate on the spot, mixing syrup and carbonated water at the moment of pouring. Using whatever water pressure and CO2 supply that particular restaurant has on hand, a factory, by contrast, carbonates under laboratory-grade control, days or weeks before the drink ever reaches a shelf. Same formula, completely different execution. That's why longtime drinkers often insist they can tell the two apart blind. Once carbonation is locked in, the countdown begins. From this point forward, the product has to move fast, because the moment it's ready, it's already starting to lose its perfect condition. That means the empty containers waiting nearby had better already be spotless. Part 5. The machine that never blinks before a single drop of finished Coca-Cola touches a bottle or can. That container has already been through a war. High-temperature deep cleaning agents blast through it. High-pressure jets scour every surface. For reusable glass bottles, the cleaning is even more intense, because those bottles have already been out in the world used, returned, and now demanding total sterilization before they can be trusted again. Then comes something most people have never heard of, the electronic bottle inspector. This machine doesn't just glance at containers. It examines them, checking for hairline cracks, foreign particles, shape defects, anything that could compromise the product inside. Bottles that fail get pulled from the line automatically, no human judgment required, no second chances. Only containers that pass this inspection are allowed anywhere near the filling line. It's worth pausing on just how unforgiving this stage is. The human quality inspector, no matter how experienced, gets tired. Attention drifts. Eyes miss things after the 10,000th identical bottle passes by. A machine doesn't have that problem. It applies the exact same standard to container number 1. And container number 1,000,000 at any hour of the day or night, without ever blinking, without ever needing a break. That consistency, cold, mechanical, relentless, is precisely why a product bottled at 3 a.m. tastes no different from one bottled at 3 p.m. and when they get there. The choreography speeds up dramatically. Here's a detail that reframes the entire story. Coca-Cola Company technically doesn't make most of the Coca-Cola you drink. The company manufactures the concentrate, the locked vault flavor base, and licenses it out to independent and partially owned bottling partners across the globe. Companies most people have never heard of. Operating under names like Coca-Cola, Euro-Pacific Partners, Coca-Cola, Hellenic, Coca-Cola, FEMSA, and dozens of others, run the actual factories. Purify the actual water and fill the actual bottles. That means the company that invented Coca-Cola operates almost like the head of a secret society, controlling the one ingredient nobody else is allowed to touch, while an entire hidden network of independent manufacturers builds and ships the final product under license. Once the packaged product leaves the factory floor, it enters a distribution system managed with warehouse-level precision. First out, tracked from factory to warehouse to delivery truck. Specialized fleets move the product fast, because freshness matters. From there, it fans out to supermarkets, vending machines, restaurants, and convenience stores, arriving in a rhythm so constant that most people never once think about the machine behind it. Zoom out far enough, and the entire operation starts to look less like a beverage business and more like a piece of global infrastructure. A regional bottler's office coordinates with distribution centers. Distribution centers coordinate with delivery routes planned down to the minute, timed around store restocking schedules, seasonal demand spikes, and regional holidays that shift how much product a given market needs in a given week. During a heat wave, or a major sporting event, or a holiday weekend, entire supply chains quietly recalibrate in the background, more trucks, tighter schedules. Extra warehouse staff just to make sure a cold drink is waiting exactly when and where someone reaches for it. It's a strange kind of invisible choreography. Nobody standing in a checkout line thinks about the dozens of coordinated systems that had to function correctly for that cold can to be sitting there. But that's exactly the point. The entire manufacturing and distribution machine is built to disappear to make. Part 6. What makes this different from every other factory story? It's a product manufactured through a licensing network so vast that the company most associated with the brand doesn't operate the majority of the factories making it. It's a product built on a process so precise that a fraction of agreed temperature shift or a fractional pressure miscalculation can throw off carbonation across an entire batch. And it's a product moving at a scale that's almost impossible to picture. Over 2 billion servings a day. Produced in factories on nearly every continent, engineered to taste the same whether you're opening a can in Sydney, Toronto, or Lagos. Every layer of that process, the vault, the water rebuild, the cold pressure carbonation, the merciless inspection systems, exists for one reason: consistency. The company isn't just selling a flavor, it's selling a guarantee that the experience never changes, bottle after bottle, decade after decade. Part 7. The question that lingers: a formula so secret that no single living person is trusted to know all of it. A global network of hundreds of independent factories, all building the exact same product without ever holding the one ingredient that defines it. A process engineered down to the temperature and the pressure and the millisecond, all in service of something as simple as a fizzy drink in your hand. Next time you crack open a can, take a second before you drink it. Somewhere behind a locked door you'll never see. It's on a piece of paper you'll never read, is the reason it tastes exactly the way you expect it to. What do you think? Should a company be allowed to keep a formula secret for over 100 years? Or does the public deserve to know exactly what's in the products they consume every single day?